Wow, that last video really took off. If you guys didn't catch my last upload, I talked about the new Jack Black Christmas movie where he plays Satan and brings a kid's dead brother back to life for the holidays. Now my goal with this was to talk about the morbid adult themes of a children's Christmas movie and the crazy implications of the ending because the movie establishes Christianity to be real in its universe. But that created a lot of interesting comments that talked about religion, politics, and for some reason Jack Black's beard. There were people calling me a hater, people who agreed with the point I was making, people thinking I was some angry evangelist who thinks Hollywood is too satanic, and people who straight up didn't even finish the video. To set the record straight, I'm not religious. I did grow up religious, and no, I don't give a shit that the devil is in a Christmas movie. I love horror films, and I'm not opposed to these types of subject matter. Previous videos on this channel include Longlegs, In a Violent Nature, Hellboy, and shows like Squid Game. I'm all for evil monsters, serial killers, and topics of adult nature, but thought it was out of place in a children's Christmas film. Hollywood has its problems, but using Satan in films is not cause to have me throwing my arms up in the air and denouncing it. In fact, it's good to satirize and explore the subjects of religious lore. Only through those means do people begin to think more about the topic and begin to look at it from several angles, which is why I decided to talk about the movie I watched a couple months ago and really enjoyed. Yes God Yes is a 2020 film starring Stranger Things star Natalia Dyer, and sits with a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes and 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb. I saw the description for the film and was intrigued to see it. We follow Dyer's character Alice, a sexually repressed young woman as she lives day-to-day life in the confines of a Catholic school. Now, like many Americans, I grew up with the near inescapable world of the church. Every block there was a failing church. It was taught in schools and dictated your life. So this movie was an eerie sense of deja vu with seeing this young person so tightly confined to this belief system they had no part in choosing, and had to grow up oblivious to the real world. Alice comes home to her white, cookie-cutter home with a big family dog, eats some Cheetos, and gets on an ancient computer and is slowly discovering what sex is. She sees some adult messages in an AOL chat room and begins to grow curious as to what they mean. She attends her Catholic school, where she has teachers hammer home that any procreation outside of having children in a heterosexual relationship is sinful and punishable by eternal damnation, and discovers a baseless rumor has begun to spread amongst her class that she, quote-unquote, tossed someone's salad. This movie is probably the realest film I've ever watched and depicts this life perfectly. Children spreading rumors for the sake of it, and kids who are born into this belief system and that are obedient to it, and who don't do anything outside of what they're supposed to, being the targets of these rumors and not being believed by adult authorities. The adults who enforce these rules onto children are the ones who reinforce these false rumors and believe them immediately, creating a living hell for these students at school and making them feel horrible even though they aren't responsible for anything. The teachers are pretentious and strict. The pastor, Father Murphy, believes any and every rumor and has belittling talks with kids as if he knows the truth purely because of his status within the school. It's the quintessential Christian life for children. Alice and her friend Laura decide to attend the school's getaway retreat. For non-religious people, these are very commonplace with churchgoers. There are designated camps and places where churches would have youth activities where they would enforce these beliefs into kids' minds in between things like recess and lunch. I actually went to several growing up. And just like in this movie, the camps are in the middle of the woods with spotty cell reception or sometimes no phones allowed at all, and are filled with a schedule that involves basic team building activities that always circle back to biblical teachings. Alice arrives at Kiros, a youth camp in the middle of the woods hosted by Father Murphy, and must turn over her cell phone and follow a regiment. Alice keeps her phone on her though, since she is quite literally stranded with a group of peers that act overly friendly but spread hateful rumors about each other, which doesn't sit well with the Kiros leaders because the students are on Jesus' time. We see Alice begin to form her first crush on a boy she finds attractive, but struggles with since she is deterred to pursue any physical relationship because she'll go to hell. We see some personal moments of her beginning to discover herself sexually as well as finding out the truths of her fellow campers. For example, she spots one of the camp leaders, a girl who passive-aggressively calls Alice a slut and hopes she can find Jesus, giving blowjobs to the boys at Kiros, as well as Father Murphy himself watching porn on his private computer. She finally sees that no matter how thick the mask of righteousness, everyone is a flawed human, and it's completely fine. It is no problem at all to explore sexually. We're all human, and it's within our nature to find ourselves in what tickles our fancy. Within reason, of course, people. I can already smell the comments about pedos and bestiality. You know what I mean when I say people should explore their sexuality, you weirdos. The movie shows that no matter what these people enforce onto you or say to your face, they're just like you, confused, horny, and going with the flow of trying to be better people. There is absolutely no problem with trying to be a better person. If it takes a god to make you act nicer, then you do you. But the problem lies in the people who use their god to justify hate towards groups they don't see eye to eye with. Alice is now stuck in this limbo where she has witnessed the truth, but nobody believes her because they think she is spreading rumors and lies to make herself look better, even though the rumor about her was completely false. Alice flees Kiros one night and gets a slice of life moment when she stumbles into a lesbian biker bar, where for the first time in her life, nobody is telling her what to do. The biker lady at the bar asks about her life and where she's headed, and the two bond over the same topics, such as how both thought they would go to hell for the stupidest things, like eating too many sweets or forgetting to say a prayer. Alice begins to understand how this religious setting is warping her mindset, and the biker lady takes her back to Kiros so nobody would get worried she was gone. Alice ends her youth trip going back to school now, free of her rumor, as what happened to her happened to the kid who spread it. People now believe the boy who lied about Alice tossing his salad is actually homosexual and used the pastor's computer to talk sexually with other men. Yeah, there was a detail earlier in the movie where Alice used Father Murphy's computer to reopen that sexual AOL chat room and left evidence behind to frame the boy who spread the rumor about her. Alice feels bad after seeing the pastor talk with the boy about his actions and gives a heartfelt speech on her last day of Kiros about how everyone is hiding their dirty laundry. We end the movie on a satisfying note where Father Murphy smugly asks Alice during confession if she learned anything about the trip, prompting Alice to describe the porno she saw Murphy watching. The look on his face is absolutely priceless as he quickly dismisses her. Alice goes back to her home to rewatch Titanic, but this time she won't skip past the kissing scene. Such a wholesome and grounded movie that showcases the widespread hypocrisies with most religious people and the experiences of growing up as one, as well as such a faithful depiction of youth camps. Overall, this film is a masterpiece in my eyes, with such a great story and acting. I do acknowledge some of its ratings on other platforms are poor because it pissed off so many religious people by exposing such simple truths. Not to say every religious person is horrible. I know people that are very kind and compassionate. But we also all know many who are the people in this movie. If I had anything to take away from this experience, it's this. Not one person on this earth knows what happens when you die. Don't let them try and tell you what does for fact. Explore yourself and what your interests are. It's only human. We are all only human. If you have never watched this film, I highly encourage it. And if you are someone who is angry about my review or the contents of this movie, I highly encourage you to take a step back and watch this film from an outside perspective. Make sure you leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to stay up to date on future videos, and as always, treat others with kindness and respect. I hope you all have a great day.